Hi, I'm Dave Nauber. I'm the brand director for Classé, and I'm here at ListenUp in Denver, Colorado with the Sigma Series 2200i integrated amplifier. Wanted to show you a few of the features and just tell you a little bit about how this product works. Just on the front panel, let's explain a couple of things. First of all, you see along the bottom here what looks like an air intake. That's because that's an air intake. So we have a fan in the back, very small fan, very quiet Noctua fan. It draws very slowly a little bit of air into the front and exhausts it out the back. That keeps the amplifier cool, which helps its performance and its reliability. There are a couple of connectors on the front. You have a USB connector. This can be used to connect a phone, for example. If you wanted to play music from your phone, you could connect an iPad to it. It has the ability to charge an iPad a full 2.0 amp charging capability. It's also used for software updates. There's also a headphone jack on the front. There's a little window here for infrared, for IR receiving. What looks like a big volume knob over on the side here is in fact a volume knob, but it's not a conventional one. It doesn't stick out the way most volume knobs do. This allows you to put it into a cabinet with the door closed, with it taking the minimum amount of depth. In the center we have a touch screen. So it's operated by tapping it, and the touch screen is flanked by a button on this side, which is to mute the signal, and a button on this side, which calls up the menus. So I'll explain just a couple of things. First of all, whenever I press the menu button, it will toggle between the top of the menu tree and the regular operate page, just like that. Whenever I tap the screen, it shows me my sources. So whatever I want to listen to is on that page. If I have more than 9 sources, there can be another page. You can have actually 18 different sources connected to this preamp. In the lower left corner, you see the letters that says USB-F. That just, out of the box, it just comes set up to select the first input, which is the USB connector on the front. If you don't like that name, you can simply change the name. So we press Menu, System Setup, Source Setup, USB-F, Source Name, and here I have a keyboard and I can just type in whatever name I want, press Enter, and I'll have changed the name. There's a Home button that always returns me to the top of the menu tree, or Home, and there's a return arrow button here which will take us back one step to the previous screen. So if I hit Home, it takes me back to the home page. Let's talk for just a minute about some of the features. There are 3 features in particular that are working together, very important for the overall performance of this product. They're all digital domain features. One is bass management, so it allows you to connect a subwoofer. Another is parametric equalization, so you can correct for peaks at certain frequencies in your room, in your listening position. And the third is a tone control, which allows you to make small adjustments to the tonal balance of each recording. So let's look at those. So we have under System Setup, start with Configuration Setup. There are 6 different configurations. You can say, I want a configuration that includes a subwoofer crossed over at 80 hertz when I watch TV or listen to watch movies. I want another configuration that has no subwoofer when I listen to my turntable. I want yet another configuration that has the subwoofer crossed over at maybe 50 hertz, a lower number, when I'm listening to my other digital sources. So each configuration can be tailored to a particular setup that you might like. You could also say that if I want to sit in a chair that's not in the middle between my speakers, but I read the paper in the morning on a chair that's a bit to the left, I can have a configuration that sets the balance so that it adjusts for me being off to the left. So if we choose a configuration, we have full range, full range plus sub, and a crossover setting. So if I go to a crossover, you see the screen changes, and it gives me a chance to adjust the frequency, 50 hertz, 60 hertz, 70 hertz, so in 10 hertz increments up to 140. And then I can choose the slope, how when the low and high frequencies are filtered, how steeply are they filtered, 6 dB, 12 dB, or 24 dB per octave. And then I'm given the option of running my left and right speakers full range and engaging the sub at whatever frequency or crossing them over. So your dealer can help you set that up. It's basically a matter of getting the, trying to get the smoothest bass response at the listening position that you can. Each configuration can be given a name so it's easy to remember which one does what, and you can assign each configuration to every source. So when you choose the cable box, it automatically loads the subwoofer at 80 hertz. When you choose the network connection, it automatically would choose subwoofer at 50 hertz, and when you choose phono, it could say full range, no sub, for example. The second feature is equalization. There's a 9-band parametric EQ that is adjustable per channel. Now this takes a little bit of equipment. You can download tools that apps that allow you to use your iPad or your iPhone as a measuring device, and that will allow you to see what the room modes look like, where the bass peaks are, and you basically just want to go to those peaks and pull them down. You can adjust frequency, level, and Q. Q is the width of the filter that you're applying. So a high Q has a very narrow range of frequencies that it adjusts, and a low Q is very broad. So almost by definition, what will happen is if you choose a low Q, the audibility of the adjustment will be higher than if you use a high Q, where it's only affecting a small band of frequencies. Most adjustments using this tool for room modes will use something in the neighborhood of 3 to 5 Q, a Q setting of 3 to 5. The purpose of the equalizer is primarily to help you with low frequency anomalies. So I wouldn't use it as a tone control. I wouldn't use it to adjust mid-range and high frequencies. You'll get the best results if you focus on things below 300 hertz. I would use it to try to reduce areas where the low frequencies from the two speakers are combining, they're adding together and causing peaks. I would use the EQ to try to drop those peaks down. I would use a subwoofer to try to fill in any voids, any holes. EQ won't be a good tool to try to take a dip and raise that up, typically. I've just demonstrated another feature, which is the auto standby feature. As an energy-saving device, this unit conforms to worldwide auto standby rules, which means that if it goes for a period of time with no signal applied, it will automatically put itself into a standby mode. If that's a problem for any reason, there is a way to defeat that, but we recommend that you leave it in place if possible, just to save the energy. This is a Class D amplifier design, and in addition to the excellent sound quality, one of its other important attributes is that it's very efficient with power. So it's a pretty green hi-fi product to use. So in addition to equalization and bass management, the third tool is the tone control. And so there is a tone control setup button. The tone control can be used in either of two ways. You can either use it in the conventional way, like a normal bass and treble control. And one of the interesting things about it is that unlike other bass and treble controls, not only is this done in the digital domain, so it doesn't add any noise or distortion in the signal path as an analog tone control would, we allow you to adjust the frequencies. So if you want your bass control to make adjustments at lower frequencies or somewhat higher frequencies, you can just adjust what frequency that is. We have it out of the box. It comes set up for 200 hertz for the bass control and 2000 hertz for the treble control. The reason we do that is because we also have another mode of operation called the tilt control. And out of the box, it's set up for the tilt control. You see the box is checked there for tilt. What the tilt control does is it, like the name implies, it tilts the tonal balance toward the lows or toward the highs. The mid-range, in this case, between 200 and 2000 hertz, is kept flat. So the adjustments are only made to low and high frequencies, and they're used to make adjustments for different recordings. So if your recording is a bit bright sounding, you might want to warm it up a little bit by raising the low frequency part of the band. If it's a little bit dull sounding or a little too warm, you might want to lean it out by going the other way with the tilt control. Just a few dB is all it takes, and you make a nice correction for that particular recording. And what I found is that it does it in a very neutral way, leaving the mid-range alone, so that sonically you hear all the detail you do not using a tone control, but the sound of the recording is more pleasant, and therefore you actually listen to more of your recording collection. So the last thing I want to show you is the use of the control app. There are apps available for Android and iOS devices, so you can get them from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. I've set up the network connection here for the iPad so that it's easy to see. I'll mention that the network connection can be used to support streaming of all sorts. You can have a local NAS drive on your local network and stream from that, or from a computer of some kind that's storing music files. Or you can connect with, using a computer, you've got Tidal and Qobuz and Deezer and many other, Spotify, many other sources that you can stream from. The network connection also gives us a way to do this sort of control. So if I touch Menu, System Setup, Network, it tells me the IP address and tells me that I'm properly connected. So that's how you'd get in to make an adjustment there if required. But when I open up the app, there's a demo mode. So if you just wanted to check out how the app works before you even own the integrated amp, you can do that. Just download the app and give it a try. Once you have the app and you connect your device to the same network as the integrated amp, it appears in the list, and there it is. So you notice that it immediately found the integrated and it shows the correct volume. If I make an adjustment to the volume here, you see that it adjusts very quickly on the integrated amp as well. If I go to the tilt control, now I can make adjustments using the iPad, which will adjust the tonal balance of a recording in half dB increments. I've got source selection here, so I can choose USB, network, etc. I've got a page that we call remote, configurations. So I mentioned earlier configurations. You're able to name them again. Typically people would use names that have to do with the subwoofer setting or a listening position. And if I choose the remote button, it gives us a page that looks a bit more like a handheld remote. There are F keys here, which we call function keys. You can assign special actions to each of those function keys. So if a direct command doesn't already exist for what you want to do, you can make that direct command and assign it to one of these function keys. There are other transport navigation controls, so if you're listening to music from your iPhone and you're sitting with your app, you can forward and reverse the songs from there. And then lastly, there's a status page. This is informational. It tells you about the serial number, the firmware version number. It also tells you what source is selected, what connectors are being used, the audio and the video if you're using the HDMI connection. There's also on the bottom here something called performance, and what this tells you is how long it takes control packets, to transit the network between the integrated and the device. If it's behaving slowly or sluggishly, just check to see if that's the case. You're just trying to see if it's a network issue or something, and that'll tell you if it's a network issue. You'll see that most of the packets are taking a very long time, and some of them are not. So that's how the status page works. And balance, volume, and we can put it in standby. So that's the 2200i. So if you've hung in there this long watching me talk about this product, you know I love it. I think you love it too. What are you waiting for? Click the buy button.